Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marie. I'm a graphic designer and on this channel I use Adobe Illustrator to create illustrations, 3D simulations, and branding. In today's tutorial we are going to create a closed ice cream packaging. So I'm going to start by using the rectangle tool to create a square. Which we are going to transform into the base shape that we need for a 3D simulation. So I'm going to use the direct selection tool to select just these top two anchor points. And with the scale tool, I'm going to scale them outwards so that they're wider than the two anchor points down below. Then I'm going to use the direct selection tool again, select the two bottom anchor points and pull them down a little bit just to make the packaging a little bit taller. Now I'm going to use the ellipse tool to create a circle right here on the top left anchor point. I'm going to change the fill to none. And this is going to be the top part of the packaging where the paper kind of rolls over. Now I'm also going to create a cutout in this circle. So I'm going to use the pen tool to create kind of like a rectangle type shape, which I'm later on going to cut out of the circle so that it shows that the paper isn't attached to the other part of the packaging. Then I'm going to select both these shapes, drag them down so that the top part of the circle is aligned to the top part of the, I'm going to call this the base shape since it's the first shape that we drew. So now I'm going to drag while making a copy, just the base shape. And I'm going to align it with the outer part of the circle here. I'm designing all these shapes because later on when we're done we're going to merge, subtract, and make our base shape for our 3D simulation. I'm going to select everything and change the fill to none so it's easier, we can see through them and it's easier to see what we're doing. Now this latest dragged copy here that I made, I'm going to drag it up, and then while dragging down again I'm going to make a third copy. So I don't know if you have a packaging in front of you, it always has this little gap underneath, and then there's the inside of the packaging. So that's what I'm designing now. So we have our base shape, then we have this one on the bottom, which we're going to cut out from the bottom, and this other one on the top, which we're going to cut out from the inside here. So let's position everything. I think we pretty much have all of our elements here. I was going to select everything and use the shape builder tool, but actually I'm going to subtract and merge these one by one. So I'm going to start with these two shapes here, and then I'm going to go to Pathfinder, subtract. Then I'm going to select this bottom one, make sure it's arranged, bring to front, that it's on the top, select both of these shapes, Pathfinder, subtract. Okay, so now we can kind of start seeing our base shape here. Then I'm going to create a rectangle because I'm going to subtract part of this bottom part, because for my 3D simulation, select both, subtract. I just need half of my packaging. Now I'm going to zoom in on this part here. I'm going to select the circle and that small shape and drag them upwards so that the circle, let me zoom in here, so that the circle is a continuing line from our other part of the packaging. I'm going to select the circle and the other part of the packaging and merge through the Pathfinder. And now all that is left to subtract is this cutout. Let me fix these anchor points here. Okay, now I'm gonna make sure this is in front. I'm gonna select, let me position it so this is a continuous line as well. I'm gonna select both shapes, Pathfinder, subtract. Also, you can use the pen tool to adjust the anchor points, remove them, add them, or use the direct selection tool to move them. So now we have the base shape that I'm going to use for the bottom part of the packaging. I don't have the lid yet. I'm going to change the fill color to a light gray, stroke to none. And this is like, it's not like, this is half of a packaging, which I'm going to select, go to Effect, 3D Revolve. And we have the 3D Revolve panel. So I'm going to change this to right edge because I want this shape to revolve on the right edge and not on the left edge. And then I'm going to click Preview. So as you can see, there's some inner imperfections in the rendering. That's okay, we're going to fix them. You might be able to fix them just by changing the view with this cube here. I'm going to select this. I'm going to add a perspective, 50. I always add a little bit of perspective. Here you can select the type of shading you want. I'm going to leave this one. I'm going to click OK. Now with the direct selection tool, I'm going to go here on this shape, which is creating the 3D simulation. And I'm going to adjust some of these anchor points by moving them, or in a few cases I'm just going to round some corners here. Okay, I'm just going to fix these until I get the rendering the way I want it. Okay, this looks about right for my bottom part. I'm gonna fix this a little bit by making it a little bit whiter. Okay, the edge here. Okay, and after this, I'm still going to create the top part, the lid, which is gonna close it. So I won't be designing any ice cream in this video. I might make a future video where I design the ice cream. This is going to be a closed packaging. I could have designed just one shape that also had the lid, but I want to make two separate shapes, one for the bottom part and one for the lid. So now I'm going to design the lid, I'm going to need this base shape. So I'm going to go here to the Appearance panel and turn off this eye where it says 3D Revolve. So the revolve is still there, I'm just momentarily turning it off. Here you can change the fill color, which I'm going to momentarily change to a bright pink so it's more visible than the light gray. Let me just fix this. I'm going to use the direct selection tool. Select these anchor points here and make this more curvy, or this curve look better. Okay. Now I'm going to use the rectangle tool. I'm going to change the color of the fill just so we can tell the two shapes apart. And I'm going to create a rectangle that is going to cover, since it's going to be the lid, this bottom part of the packaging. let me zoom in because this is the base rectangle, okay, which covers the shape here on the bottom. But I'm going to add some details. So I'm going to make a dragged copy of this rectangle here on the top. Then I'm going to make it very thin. And I'm going to make the two bottom anchor points whiter with the scale tool. And then around the two top anchor points. Lower them and then round them. Okay. So this is going to be the part of the lid that, as I said, I don't know if you have the packaging in front of you. I do. I have an ice cream packaging that I'm looking at and trying to reproduce the shape here. So now I'm going to do another dragged copy of this rectangle. And this time it's going to go a little bit inwards. Actually, I'm going to move this other one a little bit outward. Okay, and then make it thin. And then I'm going to create a third dragged copy. Always I'm going to reduce the width. And then I'm going to select all of them and go to the Pathfinder and merge. Pathfinder merge. So now it's all one shape. Now I'm just going to make a few adjustments by rounding a few angles here. So it's like a continuous line. I'm going to select the points, the angles that I want to round with the direct selection tool. And then I'm going to pull in these little dots here to round the angles. So, okay, and I'm going to speed this part up a little bit just because I'm going to be playing around with these anchor points until I get the shape that I want. Now this seems about right. So I'm going to zoom out, and this is going to be our lid. So it's going to start here on the right side, the same. I'm going to align them to start, so they start. Okay. That way when I use the revolve effect, they will be the size that I want them to be. So now I'm going to go select both of them, change the fill color to light gray of both of them. Now I'm going to select this bottom one, go here to appearance, click on the eye to reactivate the visibility of the 3D revolve effect since it's already there. And then I'm going to double click on it to reopen the 3D effect. You do not select the shape and add a second 3D effect that you have already added. You go through the appearance panel, double click on 3D effect, and it will open the panel where you can make modifications to the shape that you have already applied the effect to. So I'm going to memorize some of these parameters like the perspective, the position, and here the revolve side, and I'm going to apply them to this other shape, which is going to be the lid. So it's going to be position more or less the same. It has the same perspective, the same position, and it's revolving on the same side. I'm going to select all of these anchor points with the direct selection tool and slightly move them to the left to make it a little bit wider so that it fits on the bottom part of our ice cream packaging. So now that we have the bottom and the top, I'm going to create a graphic, which I'm going to apply to the bottom part of the packaging, and another graphic, which I'm going to apply on the top. I'm going to start by creating a circle. I'm going to change the fill color to like a blue, okay? And I'm going to add the graphic to this circle, which is going to go on the lid of the packaging. So I'm going to go ahead and write just random like ice cream and like orange ice cream or something like that. Just something to show you how to do this. And then I'm going to move this up, and what this is going to go to the top part of the packaging, like I said. Now I'm going to create a rectangle, which I'm going to apply to the bottom part of the packaging, like a label, basically. I'm going to make a duplicated copy of the text here with the circle, because it's going to go on the label. And I'm going to change the colors here. And then I'm going to use the pen tool to just draw some like random shapes. Then I'm going to select all of the shapes except for the circle and the text. Use the shape builder tool to delete all the parts that go outside of the original rectangle. I'm going to add some stars, change the blending mode and the color. Actually, I'm going to just change the blending mode back to normal, just lower the opacity of the stars, white stars. Okay, so I'm going to center everything. Then I'm going to drag this graphic, make a dragged copy here onto the circle. I'm going to resize it and apply it to the circle. So now that we have our graphics, because there's one for the top and one for the bottom. So let's start with this circle. I'm going to select all the elements of the circle, go to symbols, create new. I'm going to rename it, change it to graphic, and click OK. As you can see, a new symbol was added to the symbol panel. I'm going to do the same for the rectangle here. I'm going to just add a star here to fill it in. Okay. Then I'm going to select all the elements of the rectangle. Go to symbols again, create new, add a name, select graphics, and OK. So select the lid, go to the appearance panel, double click. Now I'm going to change the fill to an orange so it matches our graphic. Okay. And then I'm going to double click here on 3D Revolve, preview, select on map art. I'm going to move the surfaces here because I'm just going to add the graphics to the circle here on the top. When I get to the circle here on the top, because there's one on the bottom that's not visible, I'm going to apply the symbol that we created. Then I'm going to resize it so that it fits. If you want, you can turn it as well to put it straight. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it like this. Now I'm gonna put shade artwork, so it adds the shading from our 3D simulation. Okay, and okay. Now I'm going to apply the graphic here. I'm gonna go preview, map art. I'm just going to add the graphics here on the outer part, like a label. Okay, so as we can see, this is way too small, which I could just put it to the visible part because the light gray part is the visible part. The dark gray is the non-visible. Since I want to cover the whole thing, I'm going to annul this. By clicking cancel, cancel again. Okay. Now I could just modify the symbol that I already made, but I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to make a dragged copy, another dragged copy. I'm going to select both of these, go to symbols, create new. I'm going to name it, change it to graphic, and okay. Now I'm going to go back to the bottom part of the packaging, go to the select it, go to the appearance panel, double click on a 3D revolve to open the panel, go to map art, find the outer label here, okay, and add my new symbol. Since it's wider, I'm going to adjust it so that it fits on all sides. Even as you can see, only part of it is visible. I'm going to add shade artwork, okay. And okay. And here is our ice cream packaging with applied graphics. I went back to the map art here of the lid because I wanted to turn the graphics so that the top writing is aligned with the bottom lighting. Now I reopened the 3D panel for the bottom part because I'm going to fix the lighting here. Don't worry, we'll get back to the lighting at the end. So I'm going to make a dragged copy of both parts. I'm going to select the bottom part, open the 3D panel, and I'm going to change the position to top here, preview. Okay, that way I'm gonna make the second one like it's sideways, laying on its side. Okay, now memorize the parameters. Not memorize, just remember more or less the position. Move this because we're gonna have to apply this modification to the lid as well if we want this bottom part to have the lid on. I could just lay the lid on somewhere else so you can see the inside, but since I did not draw any ice cream for this video, it would be empty. So I'm gonna select the tab or the lid and modify the 3D parameters as well so that it fits here on the bottom part of the packaging. Okay, so once you've entered the parameters, pretty much like the the bottom part, so it looks like the lid is fitting onto it, I'm gonna drag it and position it. I'm gonna slightly turn it a little bit more. You can still see a little bit of gray from the bottom part of the packaging, so I'm gonna like make this shape. Select the shape, make it just slightly bigger so that it covers the whole bottom part. Now that the packaging is pretty much ready, we are going to add a little bit of shadows. So I'm going to use the ellipse tool to create an ellipse. Go to Effect, Blur, add a little bit of blur to it. Then I'm going to add a gradient to the blurred ellipse, just so it's darker on one part and lighter on the other. I'm going to make a dragged copy and add it to the front part here, and then another dragged copy. I'm going to move this packaging that's sitting up straight to make it more realistic. And now I'm going to select each one of these parts and fix the lighting. So I'm going to start with this one, open the 3D panel, go on more options to show the light options. And on this sphere here, you can move this little dot, which is the light. You can add a second light, and you can change the light parameters over here. I'm trying to position the light so that it looks like it's coming from one direction. Once you're satisfied, it's pretty much done, unless you want to add a background, which I'm going to add this orange background by creating a rectangle that's the size of my artboard, then selecting it, arrange, send to back, and then I'm going to select all these ellipse shapes that create the shadow and change the blending mode to multiply. If needed, lower the opacity as well. To change the blending mode and the opacity, you go to the transparency panel. Now, after a few more tweaks here and there, moving some things, adding a shadow, we are done. I'm going to modify the light just on this one part of the packaging one more time because I want it to be more visible, the lighting and the shadow. And that's it. I am finished in this tutorial for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and leave a comment. Subscribe. Bye.